Salmon Summer by Bruce McMillan. Summer, Matvey Fish Camp, Moser Bay, Kodiak Island, Alaska. Alex loves to snack on tomahawk, chewy, dry fish. This tomahawk comes from halibut, his favorite fish to catch. But now that the salmon are running, Alex is going fishing for salmon. He's been waiting for them to return. As young fry, they left the nearby stream to live at sea. To complete their life cycle, they're coming back to the same stream to spawn. This summer, 9-year-old Alex is finally old enough to help his father set the gill net. Like their Aleut ancestors, they catch fish to feed their family. By next morning, the net is full of flapping fish. They are trapped in the almost invisible mesh of the net as they try to swim past Alex's beach. Alex and his father pull their net. It's time to pick fish. Alex wears gloves to protect his hands, not only from the fine mesh of the nets, but also from the stings of jellyfish. It's not as much fun as fishing with a line, but there will be time for that later. Now they must finish landing today's catch. Back on the beach, Alex's father asks him if he can tell what kind of salmon they caught. First, Alex picks out a humpy, the pink salmon that are running in the greatest numbers. Below that, he lays a red salmon, the best kind for eating. Then he lays down a silver salmon, and finally at the bottom, a big dog salmon. Alex cleans salmon alongside his father as seagulls watch from afar. He uses the same knife his grandmother's uncle used to skin bears. He cuts fillets from one of the fish for dinner. With the others, he cuts off the head, pulls out the guts, and leaves the skin and tails on. They're for the smokehouse, but as the cleaned fish hang outside, uninvited visitors fly in to steal a meal. Magpies sneak in for a bite when nobody's watching. They're not the only hungry birds. Alex leaves salmon scraps to wash away with the tide and be eaten by scavengers. The gulls swoop down for a fish feast. As always, they eat their favorite part of the salmon first, the eyes. At dusk, another animal arrives to take home more of Alex's scraps. A fox slinks by to pick up a meal. She takes it back to her pups in their den near Alex's cabin. Farther up the bay at Dog Salmon Creek, a Kodiak bear grabs a king salmon to feed her 2 cubs. Later, when Alex goes by, the bears are gone, but he knows they were here. He can follow claw tracks in the sand and discover the remains of their meal. There's an abundance of salmon for all. There's salmon for the eagles to catch. There's more salmon for Alex to catch and give to the people in town who are too old to fish. There's also salmon for the family's smokehouse. The fish Alex and his father cleaned are smoked. Alex hangs the smoked red salmon outside in the sun to cure. The fish drip dry, which removes the excess oil. Soon the smoked salmon is ready to eat. Alex's little brother Larry tears off a piece as he watches Alex clean more fish. When Alex discards some salmon eggs, it reminds him that there are ripe salmon berries behind camp, and he's hungry. Alex picks berries for jam, but eats most of what he picks. Then he and his father head out to the family's crab traps. He brings along a few small salmon for bait. Alex hauls in the family's shallow water trap for Dungeness crabs, but finds nothing. He slices open some salmon and baits the trap again. In deeper water, he helps his father haul their trap for Alaskan king crabs. He finds one inside, but the prickly crab is too small to keep. Overboard it goes. After Alex rebaits the trap, he helps push it over the side and watches until it sinks out of sight. Then he heads up to the bay to Dog Salmon Creek. It's time to play. It's time to fish for fun. The creek is full of salmon. The fish are heading upstream to mate, to lay and fertilize their eggs on the gravelly bottom. Alex ties a silver lure with 3 hooks on it to his line. There are so many fish that he often hooks one in its body. Alex catches fish after fish, but he doesn't keep them. Every time he catches one, he releases it. He knows the biggest fish is yet to come, and it won't be a salmon. The last salmon Alex catches is a male humpy. He can tell this one's a male because it is changing. Its jaws are becoming hooked. Its back is growing a hump. Its life cycle is almost complete. All the salmon will soon die upstream after expending their last energy to mate and cover their eggs with gravel. The floating bodies will become easy meals for the wildlife, but not this salmon. This one will be Alex's bait for the biggest fish of all, a halibut. It's time to head out in the boat and go hooking. It's time to get fish for Tamuk. Alex baits a hook with his salmon, attaches a heavy sinker, and hangs the line overboard. It drops to the bottom. He waits and feels with his fingers for a tug on the line. He feels a nibble. He pulls. Nothing. He feels another nibble and tugs harder. He's got it. The hook is set. Alex holds on and starts pulling it in. With help from his father, Alex pulls the halibut aboard. It's almost as big as Alex, and it's not even a very big one. Back at camp, Alex's grandmother slices the halibut flesh into strips and hangs them up to dry. Alex can hardly wait. It takes about 10 days. Finally, the dry fish, his favorite snack, is ready. It's the same kind of snack his ancestors ate. Tamuk. Alex's heritage. Fireweed, a purple wildflower, grows taller than Alex. When the top blossoms, it will be time for him to leave camp. He will move back to the village of Old Harbor on Kodiak Island. Next summer, as his ancestors did before him, he'll return for another season of fishing. Alaska natives and all other residents of Kodiak Island may engage in substance fishing, which is non-commercial fishing with specified gear. Between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., when salmon are running, a game warden counts the fish as they swim upstream. No commercial fishing is allowed until enough fish has swum by to assure plentiful spawning. However, substance fishing is permitted because it doesn't have an adverse impact on future catches. Alex Shugak Jr.'s name reflects the history of Kodiak Island. His first name is Russian. In 1784, Russians established the first permanent settlement in Alaska on Kodiak. The United States purchased Alaska from the Russians in 1867 and granted it statehood in 1959. However, the Russian influence endures. For example, many Alaska natives and some of Alex's relatives still practice the Russian Orthodox religion. Alex's last name, Shugak, is an Alaskan native name. He is a Aleut, a term his grandmother's uncle, Hilarion Larry Matvey, prefers to call his people. The Russians referred to both Aleutian Islanders and Kodiak Islanders as Aleuts, even though the Kodiak natives are a different cultural group from the Aleutian Aleuts. A relatively new term for Kodiak cultural group is Aleutic. This name is recognized by the Alaska Native Language Center and was agreed upon by representatives of Alex's peoples in the 1980s. Whatever terminology is used, Alex is an Alaska Native with rich heritage.